make sure that you are paying attention to what she said. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Representative Taylor. She represents District 92, okay, which includes part of Rockdale County, like where Davis Elementary is, and also part of the Stonecrest area now, okay? She was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in 2020. She began her political career actually in the hospitality beauty industry, okay? She's a beautician. She was the owner of a salon, and she kind of made her name famous when she helped get a bill passed into law that had to do with licenses for beauticians, any type of cosmetologist. I don't know if y'all are aware of this or not, but you do have to have a license in order to be a beautician, okay? She has worked as a media director, campaign manager. She worked with the campaign to help get President Obama elected in 2007 and also in 2012. And she also sponsored a movement called Get Out and Vote. Now, I don't know if you all were aware, one of the reasons why y'all were out on yesterday, it was election day. And this is one of the big factors that Representative Taylor pushes. She's a member of the local chapter of the NAACP, National Women's History Project, Who's Who Among American Businesses, American Society of Travel Agents, and the National Association for Female Executives, just to name a few. She's also a longtime member of the National Council of Negro Women and the founder of the local section of this part. All right. Representative Taylor has her bachelor's degree in pre-law. She also has a master's in business administration and with a concentration in global marketing, political strategy, and she also has an honorary doctorate degree. She owns and operates a consulting firm called Monarch Consulting, which provides legal support for small or local boutique businesses. She's been the recipient of numerous awards. One of them is Excellence in Leadership from former Governor Barnes, and also Outstanding Georgia Citizens Award from Secretary of State Zell Miller at that time. She also has a few other awards, but let's talk about some of the other things. She's an active volunteer for the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, an organization called Dress for Success. And she's also the creator and the facilitator for something for young girls. This is called Manners, Please. And this is a personal etiquette and development course for young ladies in the area. Representative Taylor loves speaking, teaching on race, beauty, African American women's history. She lives here in Conyers, okay? She's a faithful member of the Antioch AME Church, where she chairs the Annual Women's History Month initiative, and she also served as the president of the church's Social Action Ministry and the Atlanta East District AME Church Social Action Ministries. Her passion is inspiring others and serving others. So I'll present to you, introduce to you, Representative Ronnie Taylor.
I'm in love. I love the energy. Thank you all so much for having me this morning. You know, I was just sharing that in middle school, you all are fierce. I did some substitute teaching in a lot of different grade levels as part of just giving back to my community, and you all were the most difficult, that age group. And I said, ooh, I admire y'all for working with these younger ones, because this is, give me the babies. But anyway, thank you again for having me. I am so excited to be here, and I'm even more excited to know that you guys are taking a real serious interest into government and how your government functions. So he's already in my bio, so I don't really want to recap that again. I know that there are some questions that you all have for me. Is it, you want me to do a preamble before?
You want to talk about yourself first, and then I can request that, or you want to go ahead and request that?
doesn't matter. Well, actually, we did a good job. Give him a hand for that reading. I actually grew up in politics, if you will. Growing up, and advocacy was all around me. So as an AME, anybody know what AME stands for? African Methodist Episcopal. That was the church that I belonged to. And that church was the first African American church out of slavery. And so the mission behind the African Methodism Episcopal is that we take care of one another. So I was always around social justice, social action, community organizing, and I used to remember when I first got started at the Capitol as a volunteer, licking stamps and folding letters and putting them in the envelope, making copies. So I've been around the political world all my life because service is what we do. And it's the price that we pay to be here on earth. And it is a wonderful, wonderful way to make sure that we're all taken care of, because what we have to realize is that whatever impacts one will eventually impact all. So when you make decisions about your life, you are making decisions that's going to not only impact your household or your home or your family, it also impacts the rest of the Georgians. And there are 10 million Georgians in this state. 10 million of us. And you are getting to an age to where your decisions will determine how Georgia moves forward in the future. You're what, 13, 14, 15, what are you? 14. Just imagine in 4 more years you will have the ability and the responsibility to vote. Now, I remember as a little girl, when my parents went to go vote, they took me with them into the voting polls, all the way up to the machine, what went to the paper ballots back then. But they actually did their voting to show me the process. And so I want you to start talking to your parents about that and say, you know, Mom, Dad, when you go to vote next time, because we're going to go be voting again in 2024 for a new president, and I want you to tell them, I want to go with you, I want to see what this looks like. Because in 4 years, which will go by and come so fast, you will be the new leaders of what Georgia looks like and what America looks like. Are you ready for that responsibility? Do you think you can handle that responsibility? We are relying on you, the young people, to carry the torch. And you gotta be ready. So you gotta be informed, you gotta participate in the electoral process, and you gotta make good decisions. You got that? Gotta be informed, involved, and make good decisions. Because we are depending on you. You know y'all already calling me old, girl. I already know it. And we do age out. So what you decide from this day on, from where you are right now, determines how America will look in the future. You got 4 years to get it together. And in 4 years, I want to know, I want to feel in my heart that each and every one of you are going to the polls and doing your civic duty. Can I get a pledge from you all to do that? It is so important. I can't stress how important it is. So, with that, you know, I grew up in this all my life, so I'm very comfortable where I am in doing politics. I did not want to be a politician. I like working in the community and serving the community, helping people who needed help, providing resources. I never wanted to go to the Capitol and be in the front, number behind the scenes type person, making sure everything gets done, making sure those other individuals who wanted to run for elected office got elected and won big with big margins. So that was where I was. And when this district opened up, it was an open seat. That's the best time to run, when it's an open seat. I mean, everybody has a fair chance of winning. When you think you're gonna go up against somebody that's already in that seat, which is called an incumbent, you have an uphill battle. Well, the person that was relinquishing this seat to run for a higher seat came to me and she said, you gotta run. And I said, no, I'm looking for somebody new. I'm trying to vet somebody, I'm trying to train somebody to take this seat. And she said, no, you gotta run. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be, I'm not in the forefront. I want to stay in the background, making sure things are happening. And so, I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't know how spiritual you all are, but I started waking up in the middle of the night. And I'm so busy that sleep is precious to me. So at first when I was waking up, I was like, did I have a dream? Did I hear something? I didn't understand what was going on. I go back to sleep, everything's cool. A couple days later, I get alarmed again. I'm waking up in the middle of the night, whole day in the morning. I'm like, wait a minute, something's going on. So I started, after the third or fourth time, I started sitting up and I said, okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? And if you know, when you ask for God for something, you have to be quiet in order to hear it and to receive it. Am I right about it? Here I am, going into my 4th year, representing the state of Georgia and all of you. And we fight very hard to make sure that we pass good legislation that will make your lives better. So I am going to run again next year for re-election because I have to. Thank you. And the first year was very, very, very difficult for me because I was coming out of the advocacy mode. And when you're not, there are two different, everybody knows there are two parties, Republicans and the Democrats. I'm a Democrat, which means that right now I'm in the minority party at the Capitol because there are less of us than there are of the other party. And I'm going to use the term majority party and minority party because I don't like the term Republican or Democrats because we're all one and we're all in this together. So because I'm in the minority party, we don't get to do what we want to do. We don't get to always pass measures that we know are best for our communities. And we know that most of the minority representatives live in communities like yours. And the other majority parties sometimes are more affluent, a bit more money, got a little land, live far away, drive into the city during legislative session, which is 3 months. And so we don't get to really just kind of do what we want to do. So it was very difficult for me. And I was sitting in there, and that right leg was just a shaking and a shaking and a shaking. I'm like, I can't take no more of this. Because some of the laws that are passed to benefit one group and not all. And I'm used to raising my voice. I'm used to my mouth opening up saying no. Because I used to do advocacy. Where at the Capitol, everything is centered around decorum. So you can't just break shot out and try to make something change. It doesn't work that way. So I was getting ready to give it up. After 1 year, I was like, you know what, I don't have a name patch back. I need to be out there on the yellow line in the middle of the street telling my people what they need to know. But then again, waking up again in the mornings, and I said, okay, Lord, what is this trying to tell me? And what I had to learn to do was to distinguish the services and the resources that I had access to at the Capitol and bring it back to you in the community. That is why I'm still here. Because I know what is available. I know about the food, the grants. We know about different types of opportunities, school bills, legislation. Like one of your questions I understand is about a 4-day school week. All of that, I get to impact that. So I have to learn how to turn away from the partisan politics and find what resources that you need in your communities to make your lives better, your mom and dad and your whole family's lives better, and then bring it back to the community and distribute it to you. So that's why I'm still there. And again, yes, I will be running next year. Anybody want to work on the campaign, just let me know. Let you know. He will make sure you get in touch with me, because we do sign waving, we wave at the cars, we actually go around and knock on doors, and it can be a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work, especially in the sun. Okay, so with that, I am done with me. It's all about you. And the first question is...
All right, Representative Taylor, the students advised they constructed some questions that we wanted to ask you.
Y'all came up with the questions?
Yes.
I'm ready.
All right. One of the units that we covered this year has to do with juvenile justice. And the question that we had was, do you feel that Georgia's juvenile justice system is working?
is, and as a matter of fact, I'm on the Juvenile Justice Committee at the Capitol. That's one of the committees that I serve on. And that's a doozy, because you can't just say it's all about the system. Our numbers now for recidivism, anybody know what recidivism means? It means that the same individuals committing the crimes keep committing the crimes. So that's one aspect we have to look at, and then which creates a whole lot of overcrowding. The other aspect is how the system is set up. And we had in 2017, I believe it was, there was an overhaul of the juvenile justice system. And I remember being on one of the boards, on one of the committees that were, before I got into the legislature, just in the community. Because we were concerned about certain individuals or the staffing that would take a petty little misdemeanor and then lock you up. Do you know that before that we overhauled that particular the juvenile justice system, did you know that at the age of 15 or 14 they could try you as an adult? Yeah. So we had to stop that. That was nonsense. So if you go into a store and you pick up a piece of candy and walk out the door, you could literally be serving life. That would just eliminate your whole future. And so that overhaul was essential to say that sometimes that child or that kid may have been hungry. That's a possibility, right? That child could have a mental health issue. So the system was overhauled to kind of take in some more considerations before passing sentencing. And now you know that you cannot go or to be tried as an adult until you're 18 years old. Now here's the other part of that. It's everybody. It's not just the juvenile justice system. It's the parents. It's you. It's the gangs. It's a whole lot in that. But do I think the system is working? I think it's working as best as it can. But like I said a little while ago, you make that change in 4 more years. Now, if there's some particular issues that you all are concerned about, please do not leave without sharing that with me, because right now I do have the power to make some changes with the juvenile justice system. I work with the juvenile justice system right here in Rockdale County, Judge Maureen Wood. I worked with Judge Snyder before he retired and before Judge Wood got there. So I'm very familiar with the process. I started an organization that used to do what we call the Parenting Symposium. And we would bring all of them together, the juvenile justice system, the principals, we would bring the law enforcement, and we talked about some things that we could do to help. And in Rockdale County, we have several programs that keep you out of trouble. Now if you get suspended, your mom does not have to leave you at home. She can take you to a center right here off of Old Covington Road. They will feed you, they will make sure that you're getting your homework, they will make sure that you are engaging, and that you're not at home to get in more trouble. That idleness is dangerous. So we have several programs that we've implemented right here in this county that helps you. We have a junior sheriff program during the summer. And these programs are free because we write grants to get them. That's what makes me go back every year. Because I can find the funding to bring it back to Rockdale County to make sure that you all have access to better things and exposure to other options. Okay? So that juvenile justice question is a little bit of a humdinger because there's so many factors involved in it. But again, if you have something specific that you're concerned about, please don't leave without speaking to me, because I definitely I can't impact that as a state legislator right now. Okay? How do I do?
Very good.
All right, the next question that we have has to do with you personally. Do you have another occupation outside of being a state representative?
Oh, that's a good one. Absolutely. Let me tell you how. We make $17,000 a year. That will not even pay my mortgage. When you give yourself up for service, for public service, it is truly to serve and not to get paid, and most certainly not to be rich. So absolutely, I own a company that actually provides some paralegal support services for law firms. So that now law firms don't want to hire whole staff, do insurance and all these other benefits. They call me, Monarch Consulting, and we will either take on their paralegal tasks such as court filings, preparing depositions, petitions, managing cases that are in family law, bankruptcy, personal injury, and immigration. So I absolutely have to work. And sometimes it's a challenge because juggling the schedule messes with my mind. But yes, I do work.
All right, this is a two-part question, and it says, do you enjoy representing the people of your district? And also, how does it feel to know you're passing laws that will impact the entire state?
I enjoy representing constituents. You're my constituent. I enjoy it because it allows me to do good and to give back. It allows me to impact your life. And remember what I said, what happens in one life affects the other's lives. So when we're all on the same mission, we're doing good for each other, we all benefit. I absolutely love serving you, the people. I don't like the politics of it, but I love being able to go down there and speak on your behalf. And the second part of that question was,
how do you feel to know you're passing laws that will impact the entire state?
Here's the caveat to that particular question. I'm in the minority party and we're not passing a lot of laws because our hands are handcuffed by the majority party. There were 1,300 bills in the 2023 session. Let me go back and explain that. Each session is every year and it's only 3 months. It's from January to March. We have to come out of that session in 40 days. That's the Constitution of Georgia. The only obligation that we have while down there at that Capitol for those 40 days is to pass a state budget. And that is essential because the state's budget is what funds your schools. It funds your educational materials. And it also does a whole lot of other different things. But that's the only obligation we have. So when you're passing other laws and legislation, that's just gravy. So because I'm in the minority party, out of 1,300 bills this year that ended in March, only 11 of them came from the minorities. So we're not really passing a lot of bills, but we are definitely down there doing debate. And we're heard, and there are bipartisan bills. Bipartisan means that both parties, the Republican and the Democrats, the majority and the minority, come together and we collectively vote to pass legislation. So that's a great feeling when it's good. And I'm going to give you an example of what is not so good in legislation. You all remember the Senate Bill 202. That was a voting bill that put all of these hindrances and complications in the way that prohibits people's right to vote. That was a horrible bill, and I know you heard about it. It was all over the nation. People were covering that because we did it first, and then other states started copying off of us. That bill said that we could not come and go while you're in line ready to vote. We can't give you any water or any crackers. And sometimes in our neighborhoods, we find that we're in line much longer than anywhere else. 5 and 6 hours, standing in line, senior citizens waiting to cast their vote, to do their civic duty. Senate Bill 202 prohibited that. Senate Bill 202 removed drop boxes. Because if you work different hours and you want to cast your absentee ballot and you want to drop it off, coming home from work, they removed it. That was not a good bill. But the reason why it passed is because there were more in the majority party than there are in the minority party. So yes, it feels good when we can pass a bipartisan bill where we don't let politics get in the way and when our main focus is doing good for each and every Georgian. That makes the difference. So we do get a lot of bipartisan bills, but most of the time it's because the minority party votes with the majority party, not because the minority party is passing a lot of bills. I have several bills that are out there, and we can't even get a hearing. So, but we keep pressing. And don't you ever think that we're not down there standing up and fighting. Sometimes we have 2-hour debates trying to convince others to vote a certain way that would be much, much better for the whole state.
All right, the next question was, would you be open to proposing a bill for a 4-day school week?
Who said that question? Y'all back there owning her.
No, they did say that, it was also that.
Stop me. Really? Okay. Yes and no. Yes and no. Now, let me ask you this right here first of all. Do you know that there are other countries where students go to school year-round? Every day, year-round. And they're some of the smartest, brilliant graduates that come out of those countries that try to get over to America. Think about it. They're trying to immigrate to America because America is a land of free and a land of opportunity. So when you stay a 4-day school week, I don't know if the number of days that you go to school is as important as the substance of what you're getting when you are in school. So if you can get it done in 4 days, by all means, I don't have a problem with it. But that means you gotta work your buns off. That means you gotta get it, retain it, and be able to disseminate it. So I'm good for a 4-day school week. It would help with the cost, overhead cost of facilitating education in the state. I don't think that there is a state that does that, so Georgia would be the first. And we can talk about driving some legislation to see we did a daylight savings time. How you all like this new time change? Yeah, but when you get home, it's almost dark. You don't have time to do anything. We passed that bill, and I'm saying this for a reason. We passed it here in Georgia, and about 3 or 4 other states have passed it to keep it like it is in the summertime. Okay? But that's not something that we can do. That's a federal mandate. So unless Congress does it, we can't do it. And I'm saying that because Georgia can pass a law that says you have 4-day work school, but the Department of Education up in Washington will have that kind of say so. So you would have to do a lot of lobbying to make that happen. You have to be calling your congressmen and your senators. You all know, do you know who your congressman? This is the 4th congressional district, from DeKalb all the way to Gwinnett, Newton, and Rockdale County. You have 1 person on the, we have 3, on the congressional level. Do anybody know any of them? I know y'all know them. Come on, who did you send to Washington last year in 2021? He's a preacher. I'm giving you a hint, he's a preacher. And he took over Dr. Martin Luther King's church. Oh, God. I didn't come prepared for prizes, but next time I'll remember to be ready to pop quizzes on you all. But yes, you have Warnock, Senator Warnock, you have Senator Ossoff, and you have Congressman Hank Johnson. Everybody knows Hank Johnson. And so you're gonna have to do a campaign, emailing them, calling them, saying, we want a 4-day school week. That's how you get that done. But I'm not opposed to it. I just feel again, and I reiterate again, that it's not how many days you go to school, it's how much information you get out of the days that you are in school. Because let me tell you this, you can't come back here. You can't come back and pick up what you missed. So if you miss it now, you messed up. And trying to play catch up is horrible in this life that we live, in this world. No one waits on you. So if you can get it now, get it. By all means, get it. And get as much of it as you can get. Okay?
All right, the next question had to do with Georgia's point homeless. Do you think more can be done to, more should be done to help point homeless?
Excellent question. You all are amazing. Ooh, y'all can come on down there now. I am currently working with United Way on some housing bills for the homeless because I think that it is unacceptable to be in the greatest country, the richest country in the world, and we have people sleeping outside under bridges. But even more so with that, we have a lot of high school students that are sleeping in the gymnasiums, under the stadiums, because of the way Georgia's system is set up. If you are living with your grandparents or any other individual other than your natural-born parents, your natural parents that gave birth to you, you are considered homeless. You are considered, if you live with your auntie or your sister, you are considered homeless. And that has a mental effect on, especially on young people. So we're working with United Way because number one, what we need to do is if we can get a certain amount of money put into the county budget. All politics starts local. right where you are. Don't start at the top, it starts down here. Because what's down here is what you send up there. So I am working with the commissioners and with the United Way to see if their annual budget can include a small grant for housing. You know that Rockdale County does not have an emergency shelter. We do not. There is nowhere for a domestic violence couple to go if a mother and her children are fleeing an abusive marriage or relationship. There is nowhere in Rockdale County for them to go. Nowhere. If you are homeless, there is nowhere for you to go in Rockdale County. So we're actually going to be meeting next Thursday to come up with a plan to be able to put some money in the budget, because let me tell you what happens. If we do a small amount on our county level, then we can apply for grants on the state level and even on the federal level to get funding to help us address homelessness. So I think that's a very, very good question. I think you guys have to stay tuned to that, because homelessness is real, and it's not just adults. It's not just drunks. It's not just people who didn't do right. Life can throw you some curves where you could be on top today, and by this evening, you on the bottom. That's the real. And we're all our brothers and sisters keepers. So I will always fight for funding that will give us options and opportunities to help the homeless, the least of us. Absolutely. I love, love, love that question.
All right, the next question was, what would you do or suggest do to help reduce crime?
Ooh. Gun control. There is absolutely no reason in the world on this great earth of ours that we're here for a limited time that you will ever need an AR-15. There is never, ever, ever, ever a need for military weapons in your homes. That's the bottom line. And until we can get control of that, we're going to keep having the crime that we have. Now, of course, it's not always going to be, crime does not start or stop with guns. It also starts with decisions that young people make. Avoiding gangs. Because now Georgia passed a law this year that if you're found to be a part of a gang, you don't get a second chance. You get a mandatory sentencing. And that includes juvenile. So even though you can't go to the big boy prison, you will go to juvenile justice. And there's some people in there that are just as bad as the ones in the big boy. Our governor feels like our crime is out of hand. So if you're associated with a gang and you are identified as a gang member, you're going to jail if you do a crime. So the criminal justice system needs re-overhauling. I don't think it is all about going to jail. I think there are different plans that we need to implement. We're working here in Rockdale County to do a program where they already have it in there. As a matter of fact, we're just going to make sure get some more funding. That there are counselors who are specialized in mental illness and mental health. And they have access to the CB radios. So when a call comes in, you have an uncle that's kind of got mental health issues, and he didn't take his medication, so he's acting out. Those counselors will be able to hear that call from you or your parents, your mom, your grandmother, and they will be able to go to the scene. And when they go to the scenes, if that individual, that uncle, is willing to go to check themselves into a hospital, it avoids them going to jail. See, America has decided that going to jail is the solution to all crime, and that is not true. As a matter of fact, it is a multi-million, billion-dollar industry because they outsource everything. So when you go to jail, you're making them rich. And you get to eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches, cold food, limited access to outside and limited access to the world because of one decision that you make, one bad decision that you make. So again, it's a lot of variables in that. I think it's going to take a whole lot of discussion, because if one part of town lives a certain way and the other part of town lives another way, and the two don't come together and share, then they can't relate to what's going on one side. So it's a matter of making decisions, it's a matter of talking when you need to talk and you need help, not being ashamed to ask for help. But yeah, I would change the system to say that we bring everybody to the table, that everybody takes a responsibility in revamping what that would look like. But that's too broad.
All right, thank you. The next question had to do with the neighborhoods. What do you think could be done to improve Georgia's neighborhoods so that some don't look so depreciated, such as fixing roads and streets? And I know we were speaking earlier, you were talking about your housing initiatives and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question too, y'all. I tell y'all, I'm gonna have to tell people about what y'all doing over here, CONYERS. That is a local issue as well when it comes to roads. But I tell my constituents, don't elect me and send me to the Capitol and I never hear from you again. Likewise, if your parents and you all go, when you decide to buy a home, that's a major investment, right? And before you go sign on that dotted line, you check out a few things. You look at the shopping options, you look at close to the expressway, look at the neighborhood, look at the schools, right? So when you make a decision to invest in that home, in that property, you can't go in, move in, and lock yourself up for the next 5 years and then look out the window and say, oh, the streets are bad, the crime is bad. You have to stay engaged. You have to be involved in your HOAs. You have to come out into the community to know what is going on and let your voice be heard. Because we don't read minds. We can't read minds. And we are doing the best we can. I was at the Transportation Summit, Rockdale County Transportation Summit last week. They have a whole lot of, what do you want to say, construction going on this road. Sigmund Road's getting ready to have a roundabout, they're getting ready to expand the roads. They're getting ready to, all over this county, they're investing billions of dollars on infrastructure. That 20 over right here by the expressway, where everybody's been complaining about for about 20 years now, it's so congested. They're going to do a wraparound on that. So we're making progress, but when it comes to your personal subdivision, your personal community, a lot of times we don't even know that your roads are broken up or need repaving because we don't hear from you. So if we know, and I will say this about our chairman, if you call our chairman and say, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nesbitt, I need you to drive through my neighborhood and look at my streets, he will be there before the end of that day. That I will say. He will be there before the day is over, and he will definitely address the issue. So you have to kind of be involved, because we don't know that you have potholes. We don't know that you're living in a neighborhood where there's more crime. The sheriff's office has a alert system that your parents can sign on to that lets you know if somebody's broken out of jail and they're looking for them. But we all know that Rockdale has a firm standing, going back to Judge Nation, that if you do the crime in Rockdale County, you're going to do the time, and they're going to get you. You do the crime by 9, they caught you by 11, 3, 12. We know that. That's the standard. So you have to be participatory. We can't know what's going on over. And do you know there are 95,000 residents in Rockdale County? 95,000, and that's not including the youth. That's the voting age, according to the 2020 census. And there are 3 commissioners. 3 commissioners that's housing or overseeing 95,000 residents. It's impossible. So if you see something, say something. And I'll tell you on that note as well, most of my legislation comes from you. That's why I say, dealing with the school day, the 4-day school week, let me know. Because I don't know all that's going on, or what you see or what you think you need. I always solicit my constituents to tell me, what do you see need to be done? We go down to the Capitol, we're in a big, beautiful gold dome, but we're not magicians, we don't know. So I still want to reiterate and emphasize that your participation is essential. You may not think it's important, but that 4-day school week, that's something I'm going to go back and research. Because he had the gumption to put it out there to ask. And I appreciate that. So you know how they say, closed mouth don't get fed. If you don't ask, you don't know what your possibilities or your options are. So you have to be engaged. You have to stay in the midst of your community where you invest. so that your community will keep looking like it looked when you moved in it. Am I right about it? That's a fair assessment? I think so too.
All right, the last question, for the sake of time. What advice would you give to students who maybe wanted to be a representative or a senator?
Think again. Think about it very, 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 very long and hard. The qualifications to become a legislator are very minimal. All you have to do is be a Georgia resident of 2 years, be 21 years of age, and live in the district which you want to run in for 1 year. Simple as that. The other part of that is campaigning. It is very hard. You have to raise a lot of money, especially if you have an opponent, because you got to outrun that opponent, right? You got to out-campaign that opponent. So if you have a heart for service, if you have a heart for making change, then it is something that you should consider. But you can do that without running for office. But if you definitely think that this is something that you want to pursue, it does have its prestige. I mean, we was at the Embassy Studios opening, grand opening, we went to the Brave, we got the it has its perks. You get a lot of notoriety, lunches and dinners, and you get to fly all over. I'll be watching DC next week. All the perks are there. But if you really, really, really want to do what you want to start now, researching the community, what laws, how laws are made, and I think you all have a handout on how a bill gets passed through the General Assembly. Understand what the community that you're interested in running for, what district, what the needs are, and then plan your work and work your plan. Get your ground team, you gotta have a finance team, you gotta have a fundraising team, and then you gotta have a campaign manager. All of that costs a lot of money. Now, I had an opponent last year. We run every 2 years, by the way, which we're trying to change it because it's like we're doing more running than we are work, and we want to go to a 4-year term. But I had an opponent last year when I ran, and I was shocked because I know I'm doing my work, I know I'm doing my job, and I didn't know where he came from. Nobody knew him. We were like, what? Why are you running? And he said, because I reached out to Representative Taylor and she did not respond. And everybody that he said that to was like, no, that's not Representative Taylor. So I thought, well, I had to change his reason for running. But anyway, nevertheless, he decided to run. I spent $40,000 that could have gone back into this district. Now I told him, first of all, he didn't even realize that he was in the wrong race. He was all on TV threatening to sue because he had actually got in the wrong district to run. But by the time we went to voting, the Secretary of State would not move his name off the ballot. So that meant I had to spend some money to make sure this little boy went home. And I spent $40,000. I had the big billboards. Y'all know what State Board of Office Depot is? I was up there on that billboard, y'all, that digital billboard. Up here on the one over here in Lithonia, I had to spend some money to make sure. Now when it came down to it, I had 2 counties. Remember, Cab and Rockdale. When it came down to it, I was so mad. I was so mad in the end. I couldn't even go back and sue him for all the money that I spent. First of all, I should not have had to spend the money because we do a lot with the money that we raise. We take care of senior citizens because you know that the rent has just gotten astronomical around here since COVID. I have seniors who cannot pay their rent. They're on fixed incomes. If you get $850 a month and your apartment, your rent is $1,150 a month, and you don't have any groceries, you definitely got to get your prescriptions because you're most likely on medication. That's not a good America. That's not a good Georgia. And so we literally help in those instances. My campaign does. So to spend that $40,000 unnecessarily just really took me for a new height. So this year we qualified in March. I don't know if I'm gonna have an opponent. I don't think so. But just in case one comes out, because we beat him so bad, he didn't even get 1,000 votes in the Cab County. He got 1,000 votes in the Cab, and I think I got like right at about 16,000. That should have sent a message. I think he got like 1,200 in Rockdale, and I had like 8,300. So hopefully he's found something else to do. So, but he can't run against me again anyway. But it's a big decision to run. It has its rewards, I'll say that again. And it's definitely more than when you can help someone. I was sharing with the teachers that I have a new bill coming out for autism. You know, we don't think of autistic students as growing up and being functional and independent. Well, we had some, matter of fact, it's a constituent, one of my constituents called and said that, look, Rep. Taylor, I'm driving my son to Kennesaw State University every day, twice a day, because he's afraid to get in the car and drive on his own, because if he gets stopped by the police and he has a mobile issue or he panics, he may not make it back home, so he's afraid to drive by himself. That's unacceptable. So I have legislation right now that we're going to be voting on in January that will put a special symbol on the license plate and on their driver's license so that the police or law enforcement will know immediately, don't panic, don't shoot. This is a person that has motor skills issues because they're autistic and they deserve to live too. So we're working on that legislation right now. I'm working on housing legislation to try to put a cap on how much they can increase the rent. Because when you all want those new $200 sneakers and your mom is saying, your dad is saying, look, our rent went up $300. I can't afford it for Christmas this year. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week and not afford to do something for your family. So those are the two bills that I'm working on right now to make sure that we look out for those who are doing the right thing. Going to work every day, we got a family, so we want to make sure that you can get not necessarily a $200 shoe. We didn't have no $200 sneakers in my day. That just blows my mind. But the things that you need. And so I want you to be more patient with your parents because everything has gone up. The cost of living is enormous. And even though we got a president that's trying to do some things, it is hard. Groceries are, I was in the store the other day, I told the clerk, I said, ma'am, we all on food stamps in a minute. So be patient, try to understand that your parents will do the very best that they can to make sure that you have not all of what you want, but some of what you want. And just give them a hug every now and then because it's hard out here. It's really hard.
All right, thank you, Representative Taylor, for that plethora of
You are awesome.
And we have some gifts for you. We have a certificate. And again, we want to just thank you so much for giving your time.
Okay, I want to sit right here and you get a picture of us.
Can I get a picture?
All right, we also have a few other gifts for you as well.
Thank you.
And this is our Reese.
Y'all show Representative Taylor some more love.
All right, so Mr. Williams, can you get that picture with her sitting in front of you? Hey, that's big, hey. None of that, hey. No fingers, none of that foolishness, no faces, okay? This is a job, this is a career, let's show that respect.
Quick picture. But you can keep it up. I'm just going to do it. Sorry. keep it.